Welcome back to the Dark Reading News Desk at RSA25. Terry Sweeney here with Dark Reading, and joining us now is Scott Harrell, CEO of Infoblox. He's joined by his colleague Mukesh Gupta, Chief Product Officer, also with Infoblox. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you for doing the news desk today.
Thanks for having us, Terry. We're happy to be here.
Scott, let's start with you. I'm just curious from your perspective how you've seen cybersecurity implementations evolve over the last 18 months. A lot of technical changes, a lot of differences in attack approaches, that kind of thing. How are customers responding to this, given the rising impact of agentic AI across the threat landscape? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think this is obviously a big theme at RSA. One of the things, our perspective on this is that a lot of how people are approaching the security problem needs to evolve. And why we say that is almost everything in the security stack is predicated on, I need to see something somewhere locally on the malware side, and then I can block globally. Whether that's an EDR, whether it's a firewall, it's email gateway. The problem is the threat actors get more prolific as they start to use more agentic AI themselves. That model is going to start to not be as effective because they're going to start tailoring things for you, for your organization, and you are going to be patient zero more and more often, and that block local or discover local and block global is no longer going to work because you'll already be owned, and that's the concern we have, and that's the concern we're really focused on.
All right. Mukesh, let's bring you into this. Of course, Infoblox is well known for its protective DNS. For those who may be new to the concept, tell us a bit about how that gets defined and exactly what it does for business.
Sure. So it's really simple. Protective DNS is a security control, very effective one, by using DNS to stop all the cyber attacks that you're facing. So at DNS layer, you can start blocking bad DNS queries and allow good DNS queries. It's a very effective. So let me explain why it's really effective.
Sure.
Right? All the attacks, if you look at them, they all start with a DNS query. So if you get a phishing email, you get a smishing text from USPS. Right? You click on it, the first thing that happens is a DNS query to resolve that domain. If someone exploits a vulnerability in your infrastructure and owns an endpoint or a workload, what's the first thing they do next? They connect to a command and control center. So there is again that bad DNS query. If they try to exfiltrate data, there is again that DNS query to the server where trying to upload all that data. So always there's this bad DNS query. If you block that bad DNS query, then you can effectively stop all these threats and attacks. So it's really effective control. The second is really easy to turn on. So all your infrastructure is already using DNS. So if you just turn it on DNS, you suddenly get this protection across your entire infrastructure, which is really good. And the third benefit of protective DNS is that it makes all the other security tools better because you block at that DNS layer. Your firewalls don't see that bad traffic, your EDRs don't see that bad traffic, your SIEM, your SOC, everything quiets down. And so that's the benefit of protective DNS. Now, governments across the world, they're realizing the effectiveness of protective DNS. So NIST, for example, just updated their 881 guidance on secure DNS, and they are now clearly spelling out the benefits of protective DNS.
I can imagine this must be especially attractive to, say, cloud service providers or large-scale service providers who handle lots and lots of IP traffic. Are there specific types of attacks you feel it's especially effective in protecting against?
That's the beauty of it. Once you start blocking these bad DNS queries, it's all types of attacks you are stopping. So it's one simple solution to all different problems.
Right. Scott, shifting back to you, talk a little bit about why the recent NIST 881 update was so important. Tell us a bit about what that entailed and its significance, if you will. And also just curious what this brings enterprises as they upgrade cybersecurity strategies.
Yeah, it's actually like I know nobody ever wants to talk about compliance. Like it's not the thing that gets everybody excited. But the reality is NIST is a framework that helps a lot of enterprises understand what they should be doing.
Sure.
Because cybersecurity is complex. And DNS has been one of those things, unfortunately, has not necessarily been worked on in a long time. So the NIST spec for DNS had been there for many, many years and had not been updated. And of course, the world's changed dramatically in that time. And I think what's really critical about the new version is it focuses on three different things. One is how do you protect the DNS servers themselves? We're seeing all the time that threat actors are going after the Windows server where often DNS can be hosted because that's where the AD credentials are. And so if they get that, they get DNS. And if DNS doesn't work, nothing works. Planes don't fly, trains don't go, packages can't be delivered. It underpins our entire digital society. And so protecting that DNS server is really paramount and critical, and it's something that I don't think was really there in the original spec. You got to protect the protocol, the integrity of the protocol. If somebody wants to know what's going on in your environment, if they want to do recon on you, great way to do it, so watch the DNS channel. So you got to protect the protocol, you got to encrypt it. And the third thing is kind of what Mukesh was talking about. It is by far one of the most effective controls you can have on security, and so you need to use it as a protective layer. It's the only thing that sees everything, it's the only thing that protects everything, IT, IoT. Doesn't matter as long as it has an IP address and as long as it's using DNS, we can see it, we can protect it. And so that third pillar wasn't really originally there, and so providing that guidance around how do you protect the server, how do you protect the protocol, and how do you protect the enterprise, that's really been lacking, and I think the team at NIST did an incredible job of really updating that and making that bringing that in the modern era.
Excellent. Mukesh, switching back to you, we know that you have an active threat intelligence team that's constantly bringing new insights and research to market. Your colleague Renee Burton has been here and always
she's like a frequent flyer on the show, right?
Well, she is, and she's a great storyteller with these anecdotes that emerge from the research. You've got some stories apparently about threat actors known as Reckless Rabbit and Ruthless Bandit. I mean, the names alone are fantastic. But what's up there?
Did you get a plushie? The plushies are also highly encouraging.
I'm taking one for my daughter, and she loves them. You're right. We do have a great threat intel team led by Dr. Renee Burton. And I want to explain, before I explain these rabbits to you, I want to explain the unique approach that Renee and team have come up with.
Sure.
And she invented this when she was at NSA before Infoblox, and then just took that approach and scaled it further. And I explained it using an analogy, so it makes sense to everybody. Think about a city that has a drug problem. You could take two approaches to clean the city. The first approach would be you go after the drug dealers, and there'll be a lot of drug dealers. You'll have to go after them one by one, and as you eliminate them, the new ones will keep popping up. So you end up with this game of whack-a-mole if you go after that approach. The second approach is you go after the drug cartel. There'll be one or two max. It's going to take a lot of effort, but if you nail that, then everything goes away and the city gets cleaned up. So let me now explain one of these cartels in the dark web. So you're familiar with Bitly? Bitly is the URL shortening service. Everybody uses it to shorten the URLs. Guess what? Attackers also need a URL shortening service for those USPS messages that you get, right? Bitly doesn't serve these bad guys. So there are a bunch of companies underground that are the Bitly equivalent, and all they do is URL shortening services for the attackers.
Okay.
That's example of a cartel. If you go after the shortened URLs, you're going after the dealers. If you go after the company that's providing the service, you're going after the cartel. So that's what Renee and team does. They track 183,000 such cartels around the world. It's a lot.
So there's a lot of animals.
I guess so.
Those rabbits, they multiply,
Yes. And we pick them, and the most important, the most dangerous ones, we name them. So Prolific Puma is one of these cartels that provides a URL shortening service. There are a whole bunch of them. So what we do is we track these cartels, we track their DNS infrastructure, we track all the domains they buy, and as soon as they buy a bad domain, or for them it's good, as soon as they buy this domain, we start blocking it. because we know it's going to do something bad because it's owned by these cartels. So what it gives us is, first of all, 2 months, almost 2 months lead time, because they buy it, we start blocking it. 2 months later, all the other security vendors go, oh, this domain is bad, because they are now running a malicious campaign on it, right? So it gives us 2 months almost lead time.
So think about that though, before ransomware hits a network, and we talked about patient zeros earlier on, 2 months ahead of that, before we even know that this domain is ever going to be associated with that piece of ransomware, we're already blocking it. We don't know how it's going to be used, but we know it's going to be used badly.
Sure.
And that's kind of the point Mukesh is making.
Yeah. The second thing it does for us is gives us really low false positive rate, because what is the probability that this cartel buys a domain and they'll run a non-profit website on it? 0, right? So our false positive rate is 0.0002%, because again, this unique approach, right? So these 2 rabbits that we announced are just example of these cartels. These guys use RDGAs and TDS, traffic distribution systems, to serve fake investment scheme ads on social media platforms. So you get lured into it, you give them their banking credentials, and then your money is gone, right? So that's what they do. That's the business they are in.
We live for these stories. I mean, it's nice to see some traction against the bad guys. It feels like it's so often the reverse.
Well, and I think it's so often reactive, and like this is a way to become more proactive against them. And yeah, you're right. Like the misery that a lot of these guys instill, like you talk about like fake websites that are trying to lure you into giving you your banking credentials, your social security credentials, whatever it might be. Like for a lot of people, that's their life savings that evaporates, and small businesses go out of business. Like this happens every day, and we feel like we can help, and so that it is kind of fun. And Dr. Burton does an incredible job on keeping us on the forefront of this. And there's a lot more to do. We've got 183,000, but I think she'd probably tell you she probably has another 183 to figure out.
Sure. Well, Scott and Mukesh, thank you so much for sharing these success stories with the Dark Reading News Desk. Really appreciate you both doing this.
Thank you for having us here.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've been talking with Scott Harrell and Mukesh Gupta of Infoblox. This has been Terry Sweeney for the Dark Reading News Desk. Thanks for joining us for this segment. We'll see you next time.